Good evening, everyone. Welcome tonight to our Alliance on the Move program. I am your host this evening, Delon Mohammed, President of the YFC. And this evening, I have with me none other than our two members of parliament, Jarita Finance and Dionarayan Ricky Ramsaru. Good night, guys.
Good night, Dylan.
Good night,
All
Elon,
right.
and
All
everyone
right. So,
viewing.
yes. So tonight we have quite a bit. We know that a lot has been happening in the country during the course of this past week, and lots of hot topics, very hot topics tonight. So grab your popcorn, grab your Coke, whatever you have, and have a seat because it's going to be quite a discussion tonight. So, first on our agenda is, I think, the biggest problem that we've had for the past couple of weeks, and that's GPL. And we've seen that the issue of the generators that were procured for the company has come to light. The engineers at GPL would have said to the government, well, these generators are not of the quality that is required, for the operation of GPL. And they went ahead with it anyway. And now we're getting blackouts left, right, and center, So um, the government then decided we're going to get a ship. Well, I tell y'all, I'm kind of worried about this development, especially looking at the cost of this. But let Ricky and Joretta weigh in on this matter. Take it away, guys.
Thanks, Dylan and Jarita, and to our viewers. I want to say good evening, good night to you guys, wherever you're watching from. Um, as we continue our program, look, this GPL, I want to say that it's not a couple of weeks. It's like, so ever since they come into power, since they give up power, they can't get control of the power system because
Right.
I want to start from the top. They start to recruit back the old people that was there, even to one of the persons who were heading the CEO for GPL, who were fired by them, who been brought to the board that he was incompetent to run the thing. They brought him back, and that was in the out.
All right.
They brought some others there, which is they all specialize in accounting. They are not engineers, so they don't have a clue what is happening to GPL. So
Right.
that is what started this whole process, this the whole problem.
That's the root of the problem.
Yeah, they're not servicing this equipment and this machine, this generators on time. And it is hurtful to see that the head of state is making some silly comments, silly
Mhm.
comments, by saying that they left a good system in place. They left the Amilas Fast projects in place. That we should have we abandoned the project. The
Mhm.
Amilas project is why they don't take it. There's almost close to 5 years, for over 4 years already. You
All
understand?
right.
Answer the Amilas Fast project. What is holding you back? The thing is
Mhm.
that they didn't have any good system in place. When we were in government, we bought 9 brand new generators, and our budget was just a fraction of what they are budgeting here for. And I want the people to
All right.
understand here. Our budget, it was just a fraction of what they are budgeting. We already have funding secure for hydro projects in Mocha, Bartica. We make Bartica green Bartica, and for Kakwani. Those region and
Mhm.
region 8, Matthew, we had those secure solar farms already, money that's secure for those projects already. So when they're humping now about solar farms, it was already there.
Mhm.
It was already there. Now they come now to back up the system. So they bought 17, we just call it brand new second hand. That's what they call it. Brand new second
Yes.
hand. These guys bring back this country, and I'm gonna say it again, to a second hand country, a
Mhm.
junkyard. We have enough
Mhm.
money to buy brand new generator. You're only 17. You should have buy at least 10 brand new ones, and you will have to solve your problem.
Mhm. Right.
They go and buy 17 second-hand generator. The first rounds, 4 of them was working. No, I heard they said 14 is working. I don't know how accurate that is, but it's hard for me to believe that. They said 14
Mhm. With all the
problem.
blackouts.
Yeah,
All right.
but these guys, Dylan, they do what you call something called demand and supply. They create the demand by creating all the problems to make the demand, and they come and call their friends now, and to go now to find generators and find power system, and they find some boat. This boat here, they're gonna generate from some company called Orbicon Concession Inc. That is
Mm-hmm.
that is going to produce 36 megawatt power. And you know what? Um, the first thing they've done is to GPL had to yark out $1 million for a mobilization fee for that company. And so after that, they have to provide the HFO fuel, and they got to do the maintenance and the operations of that. Um, so I don't know what's the purpose of it. I don't know how much that will help with, but that is totally, I think it's going to cost about 0.662 cents per kilowatt that GPL got to pay them. And they are going to pay about 0.0098 cents to maintain and function operations. Now, this um, whole system here with the GPL here is to have the right skills people. They have hired some really intelligent engineers who used to maintain and manage these generator systems. Um, they say that the country is expanding um, in a such a fast way that the demand for the electricity is high. Now, I know that a lot of companies and a lot of big organization has been powered by solar energy. They talk about a lot of big projects. I, as I was saying, Delan, that this whole management of this power in Guyana is really is a disaster and a disgraceful to our country. A country that is termed the fastest growing economy and the one that has been booming. I don't know what these guys are thinking about or what they are doing. I really have a very um, how do I put it? It's a very distasteful about Guyana and this power system, given that the amount of where we are right now in terms of revenue to our country. The money is not being spent as exactly where it's supposed to be spending. Right? I was just reading an article by the vice president who was saying that they created a balanced economy. Which part of this economy is balanced? I don't get it. Right? So this power generating issues that we got here and the boasting on the gas ashore plant, they always like just talking about boasting about the Amilas Falls project. I don't know if you recall the Skeldon sugar factory, that $200 million US white elephant was supposed to generate some power to feed the quarantine area. That has failed. So they don't come and talk here about power generation. The Amila Falls project, that was another white elephant that they know that project would have been failed. They only use it as a white elephant to garner the money out from the system. Right? The same thing with the gas ashore project. That we are very fearful because up to now, they can't provide us with a financial management plan for that facility. They cannot provide to us an ESI that was done for that facility. Right? The laying of the pipeline, the EIA was done by Exxon. We understand that. But they also have to be what you call a gas leak management plan. These are things are absent, so you can't get money from Exim Bank. How can you? So don't blame the AP and EFC government that we're blocking you. Nobody's blocking you. You're blocking yourself because you believe that you're going to go squander the people money. You cannot squander those money because those people, when they spend their money, they want to ensure that it's being spent for the right reason. Jurito?
Yeah, Ricky, I totally agree with Ricky and his on how he broke that down because I think the first thing we need to dismantle is the argument that people is seeking to put over that this power problem that they're having is something that they inherited from the coalition. And that's the first bit of information that we need to dismantle. It's disinformation. It's not just misinformation. It's disinformation because it's being deliberately put out there to deceive persons. And the people know for certain. And I'm going to give an example because Ricky did mention one of the power plant brand new that was put in during the coalition's term in office was in Barticum. Prior to 2015, when the PPP was in office, Bartica's electricity was at a level like never before. We had persons taken to the streets to protest just because we weren't getting power for weeks. Sometimes it was unbelievable. It was never that way because of any hyper demand for electricity in Bartica. So when they want to bring these arguments for, because they're trying to paint this picture as though, oh, the country is growing at such a fast rate that persons are demanding more electricity. So that's why you're having this electricity problem. Persons need to dismantle that argument and go back prior to 2015. Prior to 2015, we had serious issues when it comes to electricity in Guyana. So for the people to come now and say that, oh, it's because of growth in the economy and so forth, you have to be the one to take them back to say, but when you were in government prior, we had these same issues, you know? Then they want to say that, oh, they met a system that was broken and so forth. Again, I can come back to the very example. I can use this one example to just paint a very clear picture as to what's going on with GPL. In Bartica, during the coalition storm in office, that brand new power station was built. Last year, Bartica went through a little cycle of electricity wars again. Why? Not because there was hyper demand in electricity, not because they inherited a broken system, they inherited a brand new power station. But what they did is to make sure that they did not maintain the system that they came and inherited in 2020. So we had a whole lot of, I did speak with a lot of the workers there at GPL in Bardic on the ground. They said they requested time and time again that these systems are due maintenance and so forth. And they did, and the head of GPL did not respond to send up those maintenance team to come and do the relevant maintenance work in due time. Instead of that, they want to now shift the problem around. So the first thing we can do there is dismantle their claim that, oh, this is a problem that they inherited. This is a problem that only exists. The only common factor when it comes to the blackout is the PPP. And that is something that we can all agree. And then we can look at the growth, like I just said. Ricky was pointing to it also. If you are saying that the blackouts right now is related to economic growth and hyper demand when it comes to electricity, how then do they explain the blackout woes prior to 2015? It was the same thing then. The coalition came into office and it was quickly identified the issues there. Systems cannot work on its own. And that's something that we need to understand. You have to have the relevant technical experts at the top of these agencies to be able to manage them efficiently and effectively. The PP does not intend to do that. Right now, the person that is heading, the CEO of GPL, they moved from Juan Dindial, somebody that was showed complete incompetence prior to 2015. When they got back in office, they went right back to him. And then they switched from him to Mr. Nandalal now, which I'm yet to see his history of expertise in dealing with such issues. So this is a problem we always have. You know, there's no aim when it comes to having merit in the persons that they're actually identifying to run these organizations, these agencies, because they want to give it to a friend and family setup. And that's why we have this issue. So it's not about what they came and meet. And I have to say further, if the PVP is saying today that from 2020 to 2024, with all the oil resources that they have at their disposal, that they could not even remedy as something as simple as a blackout situation, and they need to just resign.
Absolutely.
All of them should tender their resignation, because if you have the resources at your disposal and you're saying that you don't have the know-how in how to remedy this situation, then we're into some real serious issues. And the only thing I have to say about the boat, I know Ricky did call the numbers and so forth, that power generating vessel that they're bringing there, that was an engineered issue that was created in the halls of question of the PPP, and that's you're seeing it brought to fruition, if I can put it over like that. They created an issue to make sure that they can bring in the most corrupt manner that they are seeking to say, well, this is our this is the remedy to the problem. And they can't even say it's a remedy. You can't come in 2024 to the people of Guyana and say you are going to be renting this boat for with a 2-year contract for the next 2 years, and present that as a solution to the power issues that the country is facing. It makes no sense, and it begs the question as to who are these technical experts that the PPP is actually employing to give them advice, because they like to tout, oh, the brilliant Dr. This and the brilliant that, and I want to know where is all the brilliance, because you cannot present to the Guyanese people a plan in 2024 with oil resources. You don't have to go find the resources. The same way you come to Parliament with your additional financing request, the same way you could come with a solid plan and said, this is what we need to get done to make sure the persons in Guyana do not have to face this blackout problem. But that's not what they're doing. They're saying that we are going to be plastering the sore that we created by making sure that we have a company here that before the company even got here, 1 million US has already been expended at the very minimum. At the very minimum, that's what we know about. And I keep saying this because we don't know what's being passed on to the table. And those things are going to be audited completely when the PP is no longer in office. So at surface right about now, what we do know is that we still got to brace ourselves for the blackouts, because we are not seeing any real solutions being presented to us from the PPP at this moment.
Dylan, let me add a bit piece in addition to this thing here. The government keep blaming the APNU AFC, and Jurita mentioned briefly on it that they forget they were 23 years in office before that 5 years that we were in there. And you can't say 5 years, because after the no confidence motion, you have to do like what they call a
Caretaker government.
caretaker government, right?
All right. Mm-hmm.
And he still manages economy with a little bit of money better than what they're doing. They are now 4 years and still blaming the AP and UAFC. That's a shame. Shame on them.
They should resign.
Yeah, and they should resign, absolutely, and give up the seat and walk out. But what they should be shame about is that, or what they should be held accountable for, that if you're blaming us that we did so much things, what are you doing? That is my question to you. What have you doing, or what are you doing in the 4 years that you spend in the office that hit how much? What was the figure now, in addition to our total budget, Jurita? Probably about 2 point something trillion.
Yes, we have gone over, and I have to say also that we're going to keep climbing, because they will come back to the National Assembly with supplementals before this year is out also.
Well, last 3 weeks he mentioned that. Last 3 weeks, the states said they will have to come back to Parliament for a supplemental. You understand me? Because I don't know where they're spending this money. Anybody seeing where the money is being spending?
So it's probably been shipped to foreign bank accounts.
Well, maybe we have to get some forensic audit done there by the intelligence. You understand? We have to call in those what's call it? Yeah, the forensic audit.
You know, Ricky, before we move off of this topic, and I want one thing in particular I think should be addressed is the arrogance that comes from none other than the president when being questioned on these very pertinent matters. And I did note a reporter was seeking to question him about this matter, and the level of arrogance that he portrayed is not becoming befitting of that office at any point in time. So it's one thing for you to be presenting some haphazard solutions to the nation, but for you to believe that you are above scrutiny and you don't have to be accountable to the people when you are spending the people's money, that's a whole different conversation. So I believe that is something that needs to be called out from now by everyone out there. At no point in time, this is not Air Finale spending Air Finale's money. This is Air Finale spending taxpayers' dollars. And at the very least, needs to be very humble in the way in which he responds to questions being asked as to how he is spending taxpayers' dollars. This is not money being taken from his personal bank account. So that level of arrogance needs to be simmered. You are accountable to the people, and at this point in time, I think it's very important that people recognize who they're dealing with, because if you're dealing with an administration that do not believe that you have the right to even ask or attempt to scrutinize the spending of the people's money, then they should not be in office at all. So I think that's something that definitely needs to be called out at this time also.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, I think that generally this administration forgets that the government is really employed by the people of the country. So it's the people that they're accountable to, and you're collecting the people's money every month in taxes, in so much taxes, and then you don't want the people to ask you, well, how are you spending our money? And our money is supposed to benefit us. And then we have the oil money now. So yeah, but this one of the things that this ship, and I like the name of the ship, by the way, the Karadenis, which is the Turkish word for the Black Sea. And it tells me that it tells me that this is a large ship, because this ship was built to sail the Black Sea back and forth. So I mean, and it's been transformed into a power ship. So um,
But
this is not any. Yes, Reto.
yeah, long we've been spending a lot of time on GPL. I know we have to move off because we have a lot of topics to
Mm,
cover. But when it comes to the ship, but the last point I would make on that matter
mm.
is the fact that the ship come in with the ability to provide X amount of electricity does not fix the issues when it
It
comes to
it
the maintenance of our grid and the distribution
correct,
system that
correct,
we have set up all together. So
exactly.
it is not a solution. The problems that we've been having is with the grid, the distribution system, this breaking
All
down,
right,
that breaking down. Additional electricity being available to pass through that grid that they have not been maintaining and all of that cannot
all right.
fix,
It's not going to fix the grid
right?
itself.
So that's a
All
whole
right,
conversation by itself. But I
all
know we
right.
need to move on to other topics. So that's my
So
last piece.
yeah. Again, just to wrap that up. Um, we're seeing again our government is plastering the issue. They're not actually fixing the real issue, and I hope that everybody gets that. Uh, our next issue, I think this one had a lot of fun on social media this week, but it's the Starbucks market. We had the collapse of the outer portion of the Starbucks market, which is basically just on the edge of the Demerara River. Um, Again, guys, we see in here that there's a problem that has been persistent for years, and lack of a maintenance plan deliberately to create a problem, a bigger problem. What what's really happening with this Starbucks market issue?
Um, so I was there. Me and Sharad was there, and we did some
Mhm.
overhead shoot the of the area there, and it was really dilapidated in terms of it was not fit for human um, use. It was,
Usage, right? Mhm.
it was very much in a state of hazard. The fire station was not too far away from there. Into the fire station, when you look from the back there, now it's in a state of fear. Um, but sometimes again, the first thing they did is to blame the AP and EFC for not maintaining Georgetown. And that is where they see things. When things not going their way, they see the AP and AFC way. But when things are going their way, they see their way. Oh, we did this. And the whole thing, when we are in office, we have really cleaned up the Georgetown. It was their vice president who went to the market and said, we're gonna put y'all back here. He was the one who said that, not knowing the risk that those people were facing. He went to the vendors also, so we can put y'all back in the market. So all the chaos that is happening there, he have created it When we try to put system in place, they use us as a political mileage to get it back there. Now you get it, what happens? You blame back the AP and UAFC. But you have not seen, you made a statement and the political, you went to hook up them people and say, oh, we can put you back to come and sell. You understand me? They did that. It's on record. It is on record. So you have to be careful as politician. I don't care how much bright you are, how much doctorate you got.
All
You have to
right.
be you have to assess simple issues that can be hazard to people's life. And I'm very happy that there was no death recorded. They have some injuries,
Mhm. Mhm.
but we're very worried that no death happens, and thank God. But we are still suspecting. I hope they don't take on the entire market. And they said they're going to build, you know what, another hotel there.
Mhm.
So that's what we're going to watch for.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The issue with the market is one that we did touch on a bit without even going to the market directly. But when it comes to having those major renovation works done on such projects and so forth, we got to talk about resources and availability of resources therein. What we
Mhm.
did speak about, and we have been speaking about since the PP took office back in 2020, is their deliberate efforts to disconnect and stymie works when it comes to the main city council by restricting resources being put into city council. And we did say, and I could go
All
back
right.
to tons of different videos and programs that I did that I said that they're willfully not giving resources over because they want to say, well, look, you guys vote for them and they're not looking after things in your interest. So when there
Mhm.
was that issue with the market there and that war fall. Now what I can say is that they immediately came out and they repeated exactly what I said 2 years ago that they would have been repeating that. Oh, it's the AP and UAFC didn't do this and didn't do that. But what they're not saying and what they cannot do has come before the people of Guyana and said, this is the growth in the national budget on a yearly basis. And when it comes to the resources that is given to the local authority areas, but even when it comes to the RDC for region number 4, when the national budget has been increasing, those budgets have been decreasing. And
All
that
right.
is one of the main things that we have to look at. The PPP want to make sure that they project an image to the people that this is bad. But they must
Mhm.
also remember that Region 4 is not a standalone region within the country. And the mayor and city council, the municipality of Georgetown is not standalone. We have other municipalities in our country. We ought to have other markets within our country. And persons are seeing that the PPP is budgeting resources to be expended to fix other areas. So when it comes to Georgetown, how dare them come and even attempt to say, oh, well, ZAP and UAFC
All
administration.
right.
What they do also is to make sure that any work that is being done, they're going to sideline the main city council because it is the
Mhm.
AP and UAFC one mayor and city council. So they're going to
All right.
sideline and go through and say, oh, all sorts of excuses. But this is the government that we have come to know the PPP to be in. So that, and I think we are at the point right about now that persons have recognized that this is what they do, and this is how they seek to justify the corruption that they want to employ. So I don't think it's that difficult for persons to understand at this stage that this is how it's going to play out. They're going to come with a bright solution and they're going to sideline the mayor and city council and they're going to say, oh, they have to go and do this to fix that. But what they're not going to say is that they deliberately did not channel resources when they should have to make sure that there is balance when it comes to the way in which the country is being looked after by the
All right.
government.
Right. One of the other things that I remember discussing with the young people this week was the fact that there are quite a number of large businesses affiliated with this government that have been evading taxes, that have been starving the municipality, the mayor and city council of the funds that they owe. So the municipality, that there also is being encouraged by this government. and every possible avenue that they're getting to starve Georgetown, the leadership of Georgetown and Region 4 in general, they're taking it, and then they want to use it, as you said, Doretta, to blame the AP and UAFC for mismanaging Region 4, mismanaging Georgetown, when it's really them who are actually stymieing the development of the region.
It's
So,
coward like
um,
politics. That's the best
right,
description. Coward, it's done
right,
cowardly. You can't say that, oh, you have a budget of $1.146 trillion, but oh,
mhm,
we're gonna blame this grouping for not looking after this. You are the government of the day. It is your
exactly.
responsibility to make sure that the country is in order.
Is governed,
What you
right,
have a
right,
responsibility further to do is to make sure that the local government system works, it functions, because the local
right,
democracy is important. The people have a problem with both of those things. They have a problem when it comes to balanced development and balancing out the distribution of resources, and they've always had a problem with respecting local authorities. They never
right.
wanted to government elections, so that is not something that they fancy being a part of. So they
Mhm.
find it difficult to have to go and deal with any locally elected body, because how dare they have to go and do that when in their 23 years of dealing with politics, they made it very well sure in that time they just push that system aside. So that's what they're trying to do again. They're trying to push the system aside again. And the more they can create an issue with the systems, the more they can say, well, oh, why do we have to even go back to having local government elections and so forth? And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to
Mhm.
stymie it to a point to even frustrate the people, and then they're going to come in
Right.
like with the electricity vessel and say, look, this plaster for the sword that
We
we're
doing
creating.
this. All right.
Yeah, and Judith is absolutely right. I mean, they come up with this blame game. Whenever things not working in the direction, they blame the AP and UAFC. I mean, come on, it's like be fair. It's 3 years alone we had really to really manage this country. 3 years. So don't compare the 23 plus 4 now, 27 years now, and they can't get a grip of themselves. It's the way, the modus operandi of their government, the way they see things are different from where we see things. They are seeing
Right.
their friends, they are seeing their family, and they're seeing their flat. They're not seeing the people. Let me tell, and we got come to your teachers
Mhm.
union. They have to tell you why they're not seeing the people. When we questioned it yesterday, when the reporters questioned us about the yellowtail, that they're saying now the citizen, there's a class inside there. Sorry, I'm diverted, but I have to bring this here to show you how they're thinking. They never
Mhm.
think about the people of Guyana. They said that once you've been affected by any oil spill, you got to take them to court. The first set of people that will be affected is the fisherman. Will you think the fisherman would be capable of had taken the Exxon to court? My brother, it's the same thing with the teachers union here. Now that they lost the case, they're going to CCJ now to fight against teachers. It's the people of Guyana you're fighting against. That is what they're doing. So they
Yes.
are against the people. It's not from the fisher folks. It's not from the environmentalists. It's not from the teachers. It's not from the nurses. It's not from the what the other classes of workers. They're fighting the working class of this country. They don't like the
I
working class, and that is the go against Jagan policy.
mhm.
The
I
working
always say I've never seen in my observation of governments around the world, I've never seen a government so anti people and anti working class as this PVP government right now. I've never seen this level of, you know, trying to just outrightly crush, shamelessly crush the working class, crush the majority of the citizens of the country, in every possible way, you know. Anyway, um, as we're along this vein, let's look at the teachers union issue. You know,
Well, the teachers union issue has been one that the persons have been on the front line about, and the teachers, like, I must say that they have stood their ground, and it is only right that they are justified for all that they have been saying for some time. I did note the flawed arguments coming out from the AG and his side. because a lot of arrogance again coming with that. And I have to say that the union and their issue is not a standalone issue. I want to
Right.
say this on. I am happy at the results. We welcome the results first of all, coming forward there from Justice Kisun. We have anticipated that he, based on his prior rulings, he's going to be ruling according to law, and he did
Mhm.
rule likewise. But one of the things that I did note Anil Nandlal as coming forward and saying, oh, this is not just about the teachers union. It has effects for all other unions and so forth. And he's absolutely correct about that. Those
Correct.
rulings have
Yes.
effect for other unions. But what he need to also say is that the PUP administration does not treat all the unions alike in this country. And that's where the
No.
big difference comes.
Yeah.
When you see
Mhm.
teachers on the front line in the hot sun, day after day, week after week, protesting, and the government basically turn a blind eye and a deaf ear to what they're asking for, you need to compare the government's response or lack thereof to the response they gave when other unions even threatened to strike.
Right.
The teacher strike was ongoing. The sugar workers were threatening to strike, and very quietly meetings were had and so forth to shut that down, to make sure that
Mhm.
they didn't go to the streets. So nobody can come and tell you and try to balance and level off all unions in this country, because the PP administration does not treat all unions in this country
Same.
with the same level of attentiveness or anything. They
Mhm.
have been treating the public servants in Guyana with the utmost disrespect. And that is the truth. And when it comes to the working class, like Dylan has just been saying, he's never seen a government so deliberately trampling on the working class and so forth. What they want to do is to completely flatten the working class in Guyana as is, particularly when it comes to the public servants. They want to make sure that, and they've been talking about, they're going to be bringing workers from Bangladesh, and they're going to be looking to bring workers from Cuba and all of those things. They are deliberately trying to put a plan in motion to bring people in the country that will not oppose the things that they say. So they are actually planning to go so anti-country. It is the worst that I've ever witnessed. I've read extensively when it comes to the way in which other developing countries work their way up. The government of Guyana is working against its people at a level that they should be brought before the court for. The government of Guyana should be brought to before the court for the way in which they're working against the citizens of this country right now. They have deliberately done things that would hurt the people of Guyana, and they have deliberately had no action when it comes to things that will help the people of Guyana. When I saw the Attorney General proudly saying that he's going to be appealing this matter, it really begs the question as to who are these people actually working for?
Or
Because it cannot be the people of this country. You cannot be working for the people of Guyana and then say that you are going to be appealing a case that is basically saying that these teachers went out and they strike, and you should not deduct their salaries for them striking because you, as a government, were in the wrong in the first place. You did not go to arbitration with the teacher. You deliberately neglected to even attempt to speak about salary increase. And let me just put this in at this point in time. At the level of the National Assembly, Ashni Singh, as the minister within the office of the president with responsibility for finance, and I put it like that because he's not the minister of finance, and he doesn't take on the legal standing as a minister of finance. That's a cover he works under. That's a cover they designed for him to work under. At the 2024 budget, particularly when after the budget is read and the debates are over, we have to go and we go into the committee of supplies, in which the opposition gets the opportunity to question the government minister as to what the budget entails. When it was my chance to question Ashley Singh, about the budget, I specifically went to that line item that caters for salary increases and so forth. And I asked him again and again to list the unions that he has consulted with when it comes to the salary increases. He could not list one single union that he consulted with when it comes to salary increases. He tried to divert and go here and there, but at no point in time did the PPP government consult with any union when it regards salary increase. They are not that type of government. They do not believe they have a duty or responsibility to speak to the people when it comes to these things. So when you hear the Ministry of Education having conversation, but oh, we told them we're going to be speaking about salary increases. No, they're not. The head, when it comes to finance, that information needs to be, and that instruction needs to be brought down from the head of the finances in the country. You have to get Ashley Singh Forrest to say, well, these are the consultative processes we're going to go to. I'm going to consult with these union, GTU, you consult, well, Ministry of Education, you consult with GTU and so forth. There is no process that was undertaken for any consultation to be done with any union, including the Guyana Teachers Union, when it comes to salary increase. They deliberately left anyone out of that conversation because they wanted to go and do their own little gymnastics and fancy mathematics in the voodoo mathematics in the corner to make sure that where at the end of the day, they are left with enough money to do the skullduggery that they have been doing. So don't let anybody come to make you believe that, oh, well, the teachers union they were willing to consult concerning all of these things, but the teachers union just went ahead and strike. The teachers union recognized after several attempts for them to speak to the Ministry of Education about increasing salary, that they had no intention of doing it. In the same light, they have no intention. The government of Guyana do not have any intention in consulting with any union when it comes to salary increases. So this is a collective issue that we are dealing with. So nobody can go out there and try to paint a picture that is different. But what you're going to hear is that they're going to say, now, oh, well, we're going to bring in some. Don't be surprised. They might want to bring in some teachers from here and there and everywhere, persons that they believe will be groveling at their feet so they wouldn't be complaining when it comes to unfit working conditions and all of those things. But it's something that we will fight because we have had generations. We are Guyanese that had our parents and foreparents work in this country, worked very hard. And now that the country have resources, we have to make sure that the people, the Guyanese people, benefit from those resources. So it's an uphill task, but once the PPP is not in the way when it comes to government, it's going to become so much easier.
Jurita, Delon, Jurita, thank you for that lengthy discussion on that, the people. Your focus on the people, and that is what's the key here. And that is where the government is not focusing on. They're not focused on the citizens of this country. The teachers has a right. It's an industrial action. They have a right to did what they did. And that is counter the law. And that is the reason why the judge ruled in favor of the GTU. I know that he probably take that into consideration because it's an industrial action. It's illegal. They're worried now about the other unions. What are you worried about other unions? Gawu has a seat in parliament on their side. Did they tell Gawu anything? You understand? So the modus operandi, the way that they do things in government, they're always about, and infrastructure, I'm saying it again, that the largest corruption of any government is happening within any infrastructure development of a country. It is world record is 16%. We are probably about 35% or more if you do a check. Because if you got to check the value, you got to get an evaluation, you got to get forensic auditors to do and check, and you can come up with that percentage. Because you don't have value for what you're doing here now. But the people of this country, and Jurita, the uphill task, you're absolutely right. We have an uphill task as young people going to have to manage this country as a new government after 2025 election. We have a lot of work to do because we got to go now and rebalancing back this economy. They probably
Not about the mess.
Yeah, we got to
That
pay
is,
back.
that is clean about. Mhm.
We have to now go and I probably don't want to bail out all the money, but luckily that there are more discovery of oil. You understand me? We have to renegotiate back the contract, which they say they will do it, but they will always sanctity of contract. Same thing they make the excuse with the that TPO contract, sanctity of contract. The PPC making a mockery of themselves there. So they have so in management of this country and management the citizens of the country, they have their people who are sitting in certain offices are not doing what they're supposed to be doing and collecting the taxpayers' money. And these are serious issues. These are what we call white collar crime. You understand? It has come under white collar crime. You've been collecting money and not doing a job. So you therefore you have to we have an uphill task of ensuring that we balance all these things and we have to bring it out our manifesto. You want to see that we are going to be starting from the education sector. We are going to go to the natural resources sector. We are going to go to the public service sector. We're going to go to the financial economy, the economy sector, and we are going to be focused on the agricultures and all these things. Well, because the agriculture, what they're doing, I don't know what they're doing, bro. I know that we're importing chicken, we importing vegetables, we importing. I hear sugar cane. We importing sugar cane. I mind you me. I'm gonna verify it. We heard. I heard that we are importing sugar cane, and it's coming from Brazil. I ain't gonna bust anybody back, but we can find out. We can get it the truth in it. But guys, I think Delany, something's on your mic. Um, yeah. So right. So the thing is, we have to focus here, Jorita, as young parliamentarian. Um, I seen the I know one time I was so proud of a couple of the young parliamentarians on their side, but it got sucked into this political. Um, I don't want to say zombie, but this political. Um, I don't know how to say it, man. Yeah, help me with the word here. But they got sucked into a system where they can't come out. They
Vortex.
right. They can't express themselves. They can't do what they think is being everything they do is being directed by somebody. You understand? It's being directed by somebody, and we have to
It's a
really
one man show.
yes, it's a one man show. And Jurita, I know thanks very much for that for those focusing on the people. The people, everybody. Dylan,
Yeah. Not only is this government um, anti working class and anti people in general, anti the people in general, not only they are coming after political opponents in regional leadership, but they're coming after women in general too. They're
yeah,
targeting women. And this brings us to the next issue, which is the targeting of one of our most prominent female journalists in the country, Miss Juanita Hugh Byrne. And I saw Juretta was speaking a lot about this during the week. So I let her address it. I was very angry when I saw it too. But of course, you know,
It's a PPP. Well, let me not just say the PPP. It's a hallmark of a dictatorship when it comes to trying to do everything in your power to silence anybody that comes as an opposition to what you're doing. Anybody that attempts to speak out against a dictatorship, they attempt to silence in such manner. It could be in the manner in which they try to silence Miss Winifred Warren by trying to basically defame her character, be very belittling altogether to her as a woman. So if you try to bring things that persons may see as embarrassing and so forth, they may pull back to a corner. And these are actions of a dictatorship. If you go anyway online, you can research the actions of a dictatorship when it comes to silencing people, and you're gonna see these things later. It's like by a playbook. So when I saw it, you understand where it's coming from. You understand the arrogance of the ministers in government, the arrogance from the very top, the president when he's questioned about certain things. So Miss Huron, where she went out and she was being she just did a little write up on her personal social media page as to, GPL and the woes of GPL. Persons have been complaining about GPL throughout the length and breadth of this country. Everybody is frustrated at this point. But how dare her, in their eyes, how dare her go and say anything negative, because they're going to attack now. They can't attack the message, so they're going to attack the messenger. And that is the way in which they operate. It is an action of a dictatorship, and it should be seen as nothing else. And it brought me back specifically to my trials when it comes to representation at the level of the National Assembly, because I have faced the most vile and insulting language when it comes to sitting ministers in government on the side of the people. I've spoken about this on so many different platforms. So when it comes to not attacking the message that I bring and always attacking me personally, it is something that I have experienced, and it is something that has been condoned by the senior members of the PPP when it comes to Parliament. It's condoned by the Speaker of the House. There's no way in hell he can go and tell anybody that, oh, he wasn't aware or he doesn't hear these vile remarks coming to another member of the House and so forth. So when you see it being condoned, right? You understand that it is a system that has been put to work. It isn't just no one isolated situation that you have in which somebody's going to go insult someone for speaking against them. It is it is an operation. It is a system in operation. They have employed these mechanisms to attempt to silence people. And it is only so far that they can push this part of it before they actually go to having a violent rebuttal to persons that are being critical of their actions. And that is what you have to really take into consideration, because when you attack me in Parliament and you call me all sorts of names and those things, and I'm still back there, I'm still defending the people, I am still bringing the facts, then what are you left next to do? If you are attacking persons like journalists and so forth, and we need to not be in the first journalist that they attacked. I believe at one point in time they had attacked Nazima Ragabir as well. And when you see these attacks and you see these persons continue to speak out, then you know it's going to push those players to revise a new plan that is going to be even more severe. And then we have to check to see how far they're willing to go to silence people. And we have had situations in the past prior to the 2015 elections in which persons were hurt, physically hurt, for speaking out against the administration. So these are the things that we have to be looking at, because it's a time of desperation for them. They understand that the people have recognized very clearly that they're anti-people, and they know that next year is an election. So they will do whatever it takes for them to remain in office. And likewise, we have to be very aware of those facts, that they are coming very well prepared to do whatever it takes. And we need to not only protect ourselves, but protect the citizens of this country from being attacked by them. And we need to stand against all forms of attacks from the PPP. That's why I was happy to see the collective outcry against those vile remarks to Miss Euborn, because it shows that persons are coming forward and persons are not afraid of the PPP. But we have to continue to stand very strong and in support of the people of this country. That's our duty. That is what we are here to do.
Yeah, Dylan, I mean, I'm multitasking, but look, as I'm speaking here as a man, I mean, and they are female on the other side of the house. That really, even though they want to say something, like they're scared to say it. I know they are having internal discussion and dislike and disagreements, but they're not coming publicly to condone it, to say that this is not right. And that is why it will continue to happen, because if it happens in Parliament, it can happen in any part in this country. But we are going to take this up to, and that is the reason why the United Nations, they can't answer. They can't, up to today, they can't catch and balance the United Nations. They even refuse. Yeah, I think you had one of the topic you wanted to do is the IPODG um, there. And thank God that Nigel is there with team and Darren, young Darren, to present on behalf of that institution. Is because
The-
if you can't get your channel and your thing to done here, then we got to go outside because they're international body that Guyana sign on to deal with these matters. Gender issue is a big thing. You understand me? And we are going to call on the your U.S. ambassador is a female, the British ambassador is a female, and the EU rep is also a female there. Right? We got to call on them. These are women that the country believes in to take the lead to represent them. But here in Guyana, we have a tendency of abusing our women in parliament, and I totally against that. You understand me? It's disrespectful. I don't care the woman on the other side if they don't care, but I care because we have to protect our women. I want to see women in stronger leadership in our country because we're gonna have more productive, more discussions, more openness. You understand me? Less war. You understand me? We have to put women in every institution that we got so that we can create a balance in our society. We have to get the youth involved. This is not good example for youth. We remember what Barry Ramsaran before the 2015 election. We call it slap man. He want to slap the woman. You understand? Because she speak out. I can't remember her name, but I see her. Um, you had the thing where we had with Tabitha in Parliament. Jurita, you've been calling names. Kathy's been in the same thing. Every time our women we go in Parliament, we gotta be abused here. We don't want to tell the other side anything.
don't forget the dildo incident.
And then you had Coretta also had to go with the dildo. But the
Mhm,
dildo is bad now, you know. You know,
mhm.
these guys use Parliament as a really cake shop. And it's been running like a cake shop because the Speaker of the National Assembly has to pull his socks together. You understand me? He has to draw the line. And we're going to compare him to the IPU. Dylan?
Yeah, as we're on the issue of minorities, the issue of epadagy, you briefly mentioned it there just now, Ricky, um, in your discourse there. What's happening? I saw a picture with Nia Suban representing for, for Afro Guyanese in Guyana. And then I saw Nigel Hughes and yourself and Darren um, representing. What's what's the issue at hand? And I really don't understand the Nia situation.
Well, I didn't see it neither because I didn't get to be honest with you, I was going to do a background check to see which part is the blacks coming from because I didn't want to jump to conclusion because these days, you know, you can have a little mishap in the genetics of your your biological um output or formation. But um to do that, I didn't really understand that myself. I was shocked. But thank God that Nigel was there with the team to set a discourse of the discrimination against African people in Guyana. You understand? And the first one he mentioned was when he removed the money from IPODG, right? He's going to remove the money from that institution that can help to develop that organization to ensure that they can reach to other activities, to enrich the culture, to preserve the culture of the African people in Guyana. And and you have to remember that the African is over 30 something percent of our Guyanese population. You have to respect that. You understand me? And if you don't have the right people to go represent that your African community, you understand me? Um, you're not gonna get the right what you call it the right information. And I think that's what beat them because when Niger after Niger presentation, the government has asked the people for them to respond, and they refused the government of Guyana for a response because they had the time to say exactly what they had to say. And if you don't have the right people to represent you or represent the organization or the ethnicity in our country, then you're going to end up with the same problem. So I'm happy that Darren and Nigel was there, and I think is the president of the IPODG. I hope I'm getting that pronunciation right.
Mm.
Was
Yeah.
there, yeah, and she's a very nice woman. You ever talk to her? She's a very
Mm.
nice, and she's so enriched in the culture and representation of African people in Guyana.
Mm.
And you know, I'm hoping that these things that the way the government is operating try to stymie African people. Now they want to bring in Bangladeshi, as Jorita mentioned earlier. You want to,
Mm.
it's a race thing. It's going to be race. You're going to be putting one race higher than the other.
Mm.
No matter
I
what we
mean,
do
it,
here.
it's definitely clear in the way that immigrants in general, because I've been working alongside immigrants in so many different arenas as an activist as well. And I've worked along with Venezuelans, with Cubans, with Brazilians, with Haitians, with Bangladeshis. Even I actually met a few Bangladeshis recently. Um, People from Kerala. I've worked along with the guys from Rajiv Gandhi University and so on as well. And the difference in how different immigrants are treated, it shows, you know, and even among the Venezuelan and Cuban immigrants, the ones that are more European are treated differently from the ones that are more indigenous looking or more African looking, from the Latin American countries. And that in itself is a clear indication of how this government sees, different races and how they treat different races. Not only, of course, the African Guyanese, but well, Afro Guyanese, but also our indigenous Guyanese people as well. Most of the times get the short end of the stick. You know, um, Lots of the works that we would have done in our time in government in indigenous communities, a lot of them have been rolled back. And Jaretta can help me shed some light here. You know, a lot of them have been rolled back. A lot of the programs that were put in place to, help our indigenous youth to develop themselves, a lot of them were closed down and so on. Jaretta?
Before I even get to the indigenous people, what I can say about the whole what was playing out there with Ipadaji, um, what I can tell you is that we can start from the fundamental point that a government that practices discrimination against African people living in Guyana cannot go and attempt to represent African people at any forum, none whatsoever. You cannot at any point in time discriminate against a people and then you go and seek to say you are representing this group of people. So that by itself, it's an issue. But when I saw Nigel Hughes, Darren Way, and the team there basically from Ipadagy, I was very happy because you then had some actual representation of people of African descent at that forum. And of course, when their presentations were made, of course, the government wants to rebut, but that is not Guyana. That's not their playing field, right? So they were not allowed for this back and forth. They made their statements. Statements were made. If they don't like it, they need to sit down and regroup themselves because persons are allowed at other international levels to go and let their voices be heard. But again, they are so disaccustomed to voices being heard that they wanted to go and basically shut down what was said or something like that. When it comes to the way in which persons are treated, particularly when it comes to racism, I oftentimes say that a lot of times we focus on who's calling who a specific name and those things, and we hold on to those as the racism that is experienced within our country. And I always find it necessary to point out to people that the crust of the racism that persons experience in Guyana is enshrined in our institutions. It is systemic. Persons actually having systems set up to completely block an entire grouping of people out from getting economic benefits for themselves and families and so forth. So our issue here in Guyana, it goes beyond the little, and I don't want to just make a light of it, but it goes beyond the call names and those things when it comes to racism. We have a government in place that has done absolutely nothing to actually break down those barriers that has systemically blocked out an entire group of people from advancing economically. And what they have done is basically put measures in place that is going to strengthen action, that is going to keep those blockades in place. So when it comes to the indigenous people, what I can say is that the PPP administration has, over the years, made it their duty to go into indigenous communities and pretend to care about them by giving them a little bit of handout here and there, giving them some seeds here to plant, giving them some birds here to rear, and those things, and say, oh, we care, oh, we're going to give somebody a tractor there, and so forth. I asked a pertinent question.
All right.
And then indigenous people, I do see the time is going, so let me just wrap this up really fast. They were talking about food security, and then they were talking about indigenous people also further down at the National Assembly. So I asked, when you're talking about make farming and so forth in indigenous communities, what are the plans and action being taken by the government of Guyana to incorporate the indigenous people's farming to have it grow to a level that they can be incorporated when it comes to food security within the country and further down the line within the region? And I could tell you they have zero plans. And the Minister of Armenian Affairs could not shed light on one single plan to do that, because their aim when it comes to indigenous people is to keep them at a level that they always need them to survive. They always have to
Right.
call, oh, we don't have
Keep
this,
them
we don't have
dependent.
that. No
Right.
no real economic empowerment has been given to the indigenous people of this country. So that's what I have to say about that, given the time that we are so much over.
Absolutely.
Yes. Any last words, Ricky?
Yeah, quickly, I just wanted to, for viewers here that is looking, is the one, share this as wide as you can, our discussion here, the Alliance on the Move
Mhm.
program, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, there are a couple more that I can't remember them, but
Facebook. Facebook.
Facebook, all the places, just share us, view our member parliament pages,
Mhm.
Jarita, Mike, Shara Duncan, Dylan, Kemraj, David, Kathy, check all the member parliament, Davian, check all these member
Mhm.
parliament pages, and you'll see our program will be running. And
All
we'll
right.
share it as much as possible because people need to understand the other side of the story. Thank
All
you,
right.
Dylan. Thank you. Have a great night.
All right. Thanks,
Thank you,
guys, and
guys.
good evening, everyone, again, and see you on our next program. Good
Take
night.
care.